Hey guys, I'm working on a remodel here at this old house, and this house has it's got many layers of old walls, lathe and plaster walls with drywall stacked on top of it, and because of that, the walls are far from any kind of a standard dimension. So in order to make this house work, I'm having to install a bunch of jamb extensions, and I just thought I'd show you this process in case anybody runs into this and is trying to figure out how to make this work. So as you can see, just these two bedrooms, the extension on this side is 1 3/4 inches. This side is 3 inch. And this closet over here is the worst one I've had to do so far. That one is actually a full 3.5 inches. I used a full 1x4 on that. So there's no consistency here, and every door is kind of custom. If you're really lucky, this is a a bathroom that I built. So here a door actually fits. Standard door because it's a regular 2x4 wall, but there's only 2 of those in the whole house. So this is the next one that I'm going to work on, and the first thing you need to do is figure out the thickness of the wall that you're going to try to put the door in. And this wall here, it varies from 6.5 inches up to 6 3/4, and make sure that you measure all around. And in my case, for this particular door, 6 3/4 is the widest point that the wall is anywhere. So I'm going to basically build my door frame or my door jamb out so that it's 6 3/4. So just measure your door. In this case, it's 4.5. It's actually 4 and like 9/16. So to make up the difference between the factory door and the wall, I'm going to have to add 2 1/4 inches to this door to make it fit. And I'll show you how I do that. I'm using clear pine for this, and you can use any kind of, just as long as it's good straight wood. I've used poplar before too, but the pine was cheaper than the poplar that I could get, so that's what I'm using. And so I've already ripped these pieces down. I just used a 1x3, which nominal dimensions of a 1x3 is 2.5 inches, and you can see I've already ripped that down to 2 1/4. So I've got the headrail, and then I've got 2 legs, and just take measurements off your door to determine what your lengths need to be. My legs are 81 3/4, which is probably going to be pretty consistent with any factory door that you use. And then the headrail is just going to be dependent on the size of the door. So in this case, this is a 30-inch door, and I cut this so that it's about 30 1/4 because I'm just trying to do about an 1/8 inch reveal on these doors. I don't want them to be flush with the edge of the existing door frame, but I just want a little tiny reveal. So the way that I'm doing this, I've done this a lot of different times before, and sometimes, here's some cutoffs, sometimes you might just need a thin little strip like this to be added to your door frame. That's probably like 3/8 of an inch. If you need that, it's the easiest way is just to nail them on. Use an air nailer and just tack them on that way. A lot of times, if it's a little bit wider, maybe 3/4 inch, even a little bit more than an inch, I'll use trim screws, and I don't have any handy right here, but actually I think I do. Yeah, I do. So here's some 2.5 inch trim screws, and you can see it's a very narrow, has a very narrow head. You can pre-drill the wood, sink that in there, and that works really good for securing that to the door. And actually, I probably could use that. So this is 2 1/4. I'd have to drill in a ways, but I probably could get away with using these here. But because so many of these extensions have been crazy wide, I'm using a different technique, and I'll show you what that is. So I'm using a pocket hole machine. So this is a Craig pocket hole machine, and I'll show you on this headrail here. I've already drilled this one out. So basically, this machine just drills a hole on an angle and puts it on a perfect angle every time so that you can attach this piece basically edge to edge to another piece of 3/4 inch material. and works pretty slick. So I'll show you how this thing works. Here, I can show you. So that there's a drill bit inside here, and as you see, the drill bit comes up, and that just drills a perfect hole in there. So we've got one more leg here to drill. I'll show you how I do this, and I'm just going to put 5 holes in each leg, basically, of the jamb extension. All right, so I take my piece of material, just decide which side looks nicer. I'm going to put this to the back, so this will be the side that I actually drill through. I'll find the side that I ripped on, which is over here. So I have the factory edge facing out, and just punch 5 quick holes in. And there you go, 5 perfectly drilled pocket holes ready to be screwed on. And I should say too, you don't have to have, you know, an elaborate machine like this. Craig makes little plastic, little benchtop portable devices too. And I actually have one of those, and I liked it, so I ended up getting the full-size machine. But those little plastic jigs, you can do the same thing with those, and those are way less expensive than something like this. I'll see if I can find a link and throw it down below so you can check out some of the Craig options that are out there. But works pretty slick. Again, if you don't have to do anything really wide, if you can try to nail it. Or I highly recommend these trim screws. These things work really well. Just make sure you pre-drill. And again, you'll have to, depending on the width of your material, you'll likely have to pre-drill down in there so you can get your head down in far enough so you can grab material. This is pushing the limits of what I would be able to do with a trim screw, because obviously the bit's got to fit down in that hole, so you can only go so far before your driver bit's going to hit your hole. So anyway, if you can use these work great. If not, pocket holes, in my opinion, are the way to go. I'm sure there's lots of other ways to do this. If anybody's got any other suggestions, leave me a comment. I'd love to hear other ways, the people have installed these jamb extensions. But this works for me, so let's go put them on the door. All right, so as you can see, I've got the jamb extensions. I've got the door laid on the floor, just so it's easier to work on, and then I've got the jamb extensions laid out. These are the pocket hole screws, and if you happen to want to use this Craig system, so depending on the thickness of the wood that you use, determines how long a screw you need. So the 1 1/4 are made for 3/4 material, and this is what they look like. And then they also have a special driver bit, and it's just a square drive, but it's a long bit, so you can get down in those holes easily. So pretty simple, really. What I'm going to do first is run a couple of screws. Not using pocket holes here, I'm just running them in through the side. But I'm going to run a couple of screws in through the side. In through the sides. I'll set it on the floor. It'll be easier. Just to get things secured. Alright. And you want to be careful when you're using these. I've got the drill set to the clutch setting. You don't want to strip out the material that you're drilling into. And when I do this for when I'm doing jamb extensions that aren't so wide, I don't actually do the pre-installation. It's not worth it. I'll just actually attach them directly to the door frame. But only because these are so wide, I decided I'd go ahead and just build the frame before I actually attach them. All right, so what you do is get your extensions lined up. And again, I'm doing about an 1/8 inch reveal here because that works well for what I'm doing. And just carefully run these screws down. And that's all there is to it. And again, if you're using, if you're nailing or if you're using those trim screws, just drill a hole straight down through and run those trim screws in. Make sure you pre-drill and set them down, below the surface, obviously, so they don't stick out when you go to put your door casing on. That's pretty much all there is to it. I'll run screws down the other side and it'll be time to stick it in the opening. Alright, so we got it just roughly fit into the opening. And there you go. Now when I go to finish this, you can see here, I don't know how well you can see with the sun reflecting in here, but you can see that I just, that's why I left just a little bit of an 1/8 inch reveal, just enough to, to make it look natural. I'll throw a coat of primer on this, coat of paint, and it'll just pretty much look like the original door. This side over here as well. And if you have any kind of a little bit of a gap here, it's real easy just to put a really thin bead of caulk in there and close that off so it paints up nice. So there you go. That's the way to do a jamb extension for an interior door. Like I said, there's probably a lot of other ways to do it. This is the way I've done it. I've done it a bunch of times and it's always worked out well. So I wish you guys luck in your own project. Thanks for watching.